Okay, I finally welcome to Book 101 review. 101 is all about for the last 40 years. And today I have my feature author of the month, Amber. He's amazing and telling author too, no other than Mr.
Hey Daniel, how are you? Good to be back.
Always fabulous like you, Mister. And as usual, please introduce.
My name's Joe Clifford. I'm the author of 20 or so novels, a couple of records. This is what I do professionally. I've been doing it for most of my life now. Um, you can find all my work at joeclifford.com. Your one-stop shopping for all your Joe Clifford needs. Good to be back, Daniel.
Yes, yes, yes. As usual, Mr. Joe is my avid guest on Book 101 review from audio to video. Who knows? We're gonna do live soon. Live, as we're doing live right now. So, Mr. Joe, let's talk about All Who Wonder. Can you give our listener overview for this novel of yours?
Yeah, All Who Wander is a New England crime thriller slash domestic psychological suspense slash just old fashioned mystery. It's about a girl who goes missing. I believe it was 1990, 91. She goes out, driving in a snowstorm, and they find her car, and there's no record of her. We have a couple witnesses who see her. She seems to have vanished into the night. And then we go back in time to dissect the story of her, Brooke, and her brother Bobby, her half brother Bobby, who came to live with her for a couple of years when he was 10 and she was, I believe, 16. It's hard to remember the exact dates, but uh, yeah, what unfolds then is some secrets and drama and scary stuff, and of course I'm having the background of my usual milieu of drug addiction and squalor and the road and the destitute and that sort of. I always like going back there. I'm not really sure why. I mean, I live in a very nice house in a nice neighborhood in a nice part of town, but I seem to draw mostly on my 10 years that I spent sort of destitute in San Francisco. I mean, I spent a lot. I also draw back a lot on my growing up in Berlin, Connecticut, and I kind of infuse those two. Growing up in Berlin, Connecticut, with some of the darker elements of life that I may have missed that first time around.
So, can you describe the main characters or themes?
Yeah, Brooke was a somebody I started writing, and I wasn't really sure who she was, and by the end, I ended up liking her quite a bit. She's got a mean streak. She's a little damaged. She had a rough upbringing. She had an alcoholic father, absentee mother, this weird half brother who came into her life, and some weird stuff happened there. And she ended up, I think, becoming a rather sympathetic character. I'm not known for my sympathetic characters. I tend to write characters who are deliberately unlikable. I think because at heart I feel deliberately unlikable. Bobby, her brother, is more interesting to me. I mean, just because I got to dive into his psyche a little more. It's always hard writing a female character being a man. I feel like I can only do so much before I have to back out, and then I'm pushing something. Whereas Bobby, I was able to sink my teeth in a little more, and plus Bobby's screwed up mentally and emotionally, so that was sort of my, that's my area, Daniel. Just screwed up emotionally and mentally. That's sort of where I operate from because I, spoiler alert, am not completely mentally on target.
Yes, spoiler. Did you draw any personal experiences when crafting All Who Wonders?
Yeah, I mean, at the heart of the book is a secret shame, I guess, and it haunts the people in the book, and it's never you can't verify what happened or didn't happen because memory is unreliable. I'm fascinated also by memory, this idea of what I remember, what you remember. We see the same event, and we're going to have different reporting of it. This isn't reinventing the wheel. This is a well-known phenomena. It's why police tend to eschew eyewitness testimony because two people could see the same crime and see completely different events unfolding. but yeah, examining that memory, going on however many years we were talking this book, I guess would be Bobby's 8 in the book starts, and he's around 30 when we see him. So it's been a while, and he's a professor in a nice college, and he's got a nice wife and a nice son and a nice life. But you can feel something is tearing up at him, and as we go through the what transpired that night, the fateful night in January '90. Um, where Brooks' car went off the road, we start to see more about who Bobby is as a person, who Robert is, because later on he calls himself Robert. And he does not like to be called Bobby, and there's a reason for that. He wants to distance himself from the weird fat kid he was.
So, Mr. Joe, what do you hope readers will take away from All Who Wonders?
Ugh, I hope they'll take away that change is always possible, and we always have hope. And also, one of the themes I think underlying the whole book is how we're kind of our critics. We tend to think the worst of ourselves. I shouldn't say everybody. I mean, I lump the whole human race into that. There's a percentage of us out there who tend to be harder on ourselves than anybody else. I don't know where this self-loathing comes from, or if it's entirely upbringing or genetics or what it is. But there seems to be some folks, and I'm very much included, who tend to beat themselves up, negative self-talk being, sort of the base, minimal, and then to some really, sabotaging behaviors. And yeah, these are things that I explore. And again, we're getting into, a narrowed focus, because this isn't for everybody. If you're listening to this and this doesn't sound interesting, don't read the book. I mean, this is what I do. I mean, I write. I think I write well. I think I write very colorful. Hey, Luna. And I'm good at that part of it. But the themes I explore are not for everybody. It's for me and the people I know who are like me, who maybe need to have kind of an outlet.
Yes, they like your books, Mr. Joe. So, is there any particular authors or books influence your writing style for this All Who Wonders?
Yeah, this is a direct rip off of Mary Kubica and Wendy Walker and Jennifer Hillier and Emily Carpenter and Shannon Kirk and all the other the authors I'm always talking about. Paula Hawkins. There's a new batch of just women writing crime fiction and domestic psychological suspense, and it's to me it's riveting. It's just it's something that only women can do, and I've not seen men do it. And I don't know why I'm trying to do it. I should stick to what I know, but yeah, it's a deeper layer of emotional honesty and dishonesty that I just find riveting.
So, how important was research in creating the world context of All Who Wonders?
How say that again?
The context of research.
The context research. This was I do this a lot. I think a lot of crime writers do this. I'm not telling you any big secret, but we take headlines, and we just imagine what happened. So this is a true story. I believe her name was Maura Murray, and she really did disappear. And then I just tried to imagine stories surrounding her and what could have led to somebody just vanishing in the middle of the night, and then it becomes my story. But I think a lot of crime writers do that. We use real life as a starting off point.
Yes. Is there a specific scene or chapter in the book that holds special meaning to you?
I wouldn't say special meaning as much as there's one particularly creepy scene where Brooke confronts a drug dealer. She works at a nursing home, and she's caught peddling medications, and she has to go to one of the seedier drug dealers in town. And just a scene I enjoyed writing. I thought I did a particularly good job, and it was sufficiently creepy. And I'm drawing on my time, having visited quite a few seedy drug dens in my day, and that feeling of, man, if something goes wrong, it's not you can go to cops say, hey, you're on your own. Like there's, when you live as a criminal, you police as a criminal, you don't get the option of calling 911 because a drug dealer made an unwanted sexual advance. It doesn't work like that. You're living outside the law in every facet of the term. So you are outside the law. You're on your own, and that was a fun scene to write. I don't know if fun's not the right word. it was an entertaining scene to write because I got to draw on a couple different elements of my life.
Hmm. Yes, for sure. So, can you tell us about the symbolisms or hidden layers in your book that readers might not
You can see by the
immediately notice?
cover. I mean, I feel most at home in the snow, which is weird because I've lived in San Francisco Bay Area most of my life now. I grew up on the East Coast, but there's something about that the cold and how inhospitable it can be and how cut off you can be in that landscape of just bleak and white on white I've always been compelled by. Um, so it's a dark book. It's a winter book. It's very much a winter book. It's cold. You can feel the cold, and I'm going back to my Porter kind of roots with that. It's New England, steeped in that weird puritanical, I don't know, ideology, theology. Something. There's nothing like New England. It's because how was it came into fruition, with the Puritans, and it never really leaves that. It's odd, and it's the juxtaposition between modern and past, traditions is always going to guide what happens in that part of the country.
So, how do you think your book stands out in each genre or category?
Well, I mean, speaking humbly, I would say that I'm probably the best one out there, Daniel. I mean, I do what I do, and I think I do what I do well. And if you like that sort of thing, I don't know if you'll be disappointed. I mean, I work really hard at crafting, line by line. Every book is line by line. It's line by line edits. It's as though it's poetry, which I know makes me sound like a conceited douchebag, but it's true. I go line by line. The musicality, the rhythm of language. So I'm working to infuse. After you get the plot down, you get the characters, you get the turn, you get dark. I go back and do the fun stuff, which is sort of the window dressing and the actual prose, where you have a cadence and the lilt of words. I love words and how off rhymes sound and the pitter patter, the syncopation of that. And I'm trying to pull the reader along with that sort of um, construct. We have a road out here, 280. 280 is a highway. It was designed, apparently, I heard once, to not be able to take your hands off the wheel. You just ride the road, and natural turns would take you all the way down. And I try to do that with the prose. And again, this is something most people don't give a shit about. They really don't. I mean, if people give a shit about good writing, we wouldn't have Dan Brown, right? We wouldn't have E.L. James, and not to disparage their woeful prose because they make way more money than I'll ever see in my lifetime, but they're not good writers. They don't write well. I like being a good writer. I like writing a sound sentence. I like being able to command attention and pull and extrapolate and take you on an emotional journey with just the words. Also, the story's got to be there. Obviously, if the story's not there, nobody's gonna give a shit about that other stuff. You got to have a story. You got to have a plot. You got to have things happening. You got to have tension. All that all goes without saying. But the part I like, maybe I should have been a poet, but then I'd have to kick my own ass. Is that sort of play with words. So I hope that's where I stand out, being just a good writer. I try to write, a sort of brand of literary fiction against a, you know, mystery or genre background, which is I wouldn't advise anybody to do. It's a kind of a just pointless. Most people don't give a shit about writing. If I were to make a good if I were to make give you a list of the 10 most important things in writing, Daniel, to be a writer, writing itself would probably be 9. There are so many more things that are there. There are so many things that are way more important than the writing. Uh, Editors, publishers, the general public, most people don't give a shit about good writing. They just don't. It's kind of a lost art. So it's like I'm becoming a cobbler or some other ancient artifact, profession. But it's what I do, and it's how I feel best, and I think I hope that's where I stand out.
Yes, that's why you're award-winning and best-selling author, Mr. Joe.
There's a lot of award-winning best-selling authors out there, Daniel. But yes, I appreciate it.
So, what kind of readers do you believe will connect most of your book and why?
I write for people who don't like to read. That's sort of been my tagline for a while. I grew up not really liking to read. Obviously, I'm a writer, so I love to read. But a lot of writing I don't like to read. I remember books books I read in high school, and I always bring up poor Nathaniel Hawthorne, who was I know a genius in the canon, in the Scarlet Letter. I'm not disparaging, but a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, 14-year-old kid shouldn't be reading a book. It kind of turns you off to reading. I don't know why high school programs don't give you, the Hunger Games, or give you Stephen King, give books that are fun to read. Reading shouldn't be a chore. If you're reading a book and you're not enjoying it, I'm quoting Nick Hornby, I believe, but wrote Masterful High Fidelity, About a Boy, and many other books. But if you're not enjoying reading a book, we got to start treating books more like TV and movies. And if you're watching a movie that sucks, that you don't like, it's over in 2 minutes, right? 2 hours. Or you can always walk out. But generally, even if you're like, I got to finish the movie, it's 2 hours. A book, if you don't like it, is 10 times that. So if you're not enjoying yourself, why are you suffering through? Because we have this thing from high school where like, oh, you got to finish the book. No, you don't have to finish the book. If you start reading my book and you're not enjoying it, throw my book away and go pick up another book. There's millions of books out there. But reading should be fun. Reading should be something you do because you're enjoying it, not a chore. So yeah, that's sort of my soapbox stance on that particular topic.
Yes, you have the passion, passion of what you are doing, so you enjoy, like Mr. Joe. Are there any plans or sequel for all?
No, this one's definitely a standalone. It ends on a standalone. It's you're not supposed to read your reviews on Amazon, but I always do because I'm a fucking moron. And I'll go on there and I'll read it. And the people who hate this book, it's actually this got reviewed pretty well, but the people who don't like it don't like the ending, or they don't like. And the ending is a pretty bold ending, and it's a pretty violent, spectacular ending, I think. And it's a shocking ending. And again, if you're somebody who doesn't want to be reminded about the unpleasantness of life, or if you're somebody who wakes up and you look outside and you go, I don't see what all these people complain about. This is great. What a great day. I'm not for you. I mean, I've never been a happy guy. I was a grumpy kid. I turned to a grumpy teenager, and I'm a grumpy adult. I'm a sort of just, that's my disposition. I mean, I don't consider myself necessarily unpleasant. And my friends who like me don't mind it, but the people who don't like me and don't like my books really notice that. And again, it's just a preference. I don't know how anyone can wake up and look outside at this world and say things are good. I just, I always go back to the 8 people owning fucking 50% of the world's wealth, and just is the most absurd stat I can think of. 8 people out of 8 billion own half the world's wealth, and we just sit around like it's okay. We applaud it. We celebrate it. People love Elon Musk. People love Jeff Bezos. And I'm not knocking those guys. I'm not saying we should go storming the house. I think maybe Elon Musk should come down and go to the guillotine, but that's just personal, thought. But take the money, redistribute it. Can't be any worse. What is it? I just don't get it. I'll never get it. I don't understand it. And there's people I went to high school with who make $15,000 a year, and they're telling me how they're going to vote for a billionaire. Who's apply for bankruptcy. Not this is political. It drives me nuts. I don't understand it. I don't understand so much about this world. I don't get it. I don't understand it. What I do understand is this little corner that I've sort of carved out for myself, which is my little artistic niche with a little bit of golf sprinkled in there to keep me sane. And these are the things I explore. These are the things I find interesting. So I hope the reader will take the same things away, but they also have to come into it with a sort of I give you 2 books, right? You like Catcher in the Rye, Pride and Prejudice. Now, if you are somebody who prefers Pride and Prejudice or Catcher in the Rye, do not read my books. Again, do not read my books. If you like Catcher in the Rye, I name my son Holden. If you agree with Holden Caulfield, the world's a bunch of phonies. It's a pain in the ass, and all the the Larry David sort of observations of a world that just people doing stupid shit, and you're stuck behind them in a line to super. If that interests you, then yeah, read my books. But yeah, if you're one of these other people, go read Jane Austen and stay the fuck away from my books. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. It's just not for you. It's nothing personal. I'll see you at a party. We'll say hi, but like, don't read my books and then come and say like, oh man, they were depressing and dark. I'm depressing and dark. Sorry. I find that shit funny too. Like I find Veritex funny, but like that is not. That's just do your research before you read a book, right? Like, if you're scared of killer clowns, don't pick up a Stephen King book. You're not gonna like it.
So, Mr. Joe, how has your perspective as an author evolved since the publication of All Who Wander?
I've probably only grown more bitter and negative I know.
Or
It's tough, man, and it's not tough. It's also I get to write for a living, and I have a great life, and I've been blessed by so many things, and I can never say thank you to the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, enough. I mean, those things are. But I've always, once you acquire something, once you have something like, oh, be grateful for the things you have. We talked about this last week. Gratitude is a tough word for me. I just, it implies stagnation, I guess. Gratitude means you can sit and be happy with what you have. I mean, I've always been hungrier than that. I want more. I want more. I want more. And because of that, gratitude isn't really, like I said, top 10 things to be a writer. Well, top 10 things to be me. Gratitude would be around 9, right? It's just not. I push myself in a different way. I don't believe in being kind to my body. When I go to the gym, I punish my body, to the point where I rip muscles, which is why I can't go to the gym right now. But got my PRP shot. I'm healing. I'll get back in there. And, beat the shit out of this old body.
Yes, yes, yes. So, Mr. Joe, what are your short-term and long-term goals in writing?
Oh, my short-term goal is to monetize this somehow because I do not make nearly enough money. I make so little money that my wife, which is just funny when I put it in that context. I mean, she hears this stuff, she'll be like, "You said not to talk about me. You said you want to talk about me." That's what she sounds like. You said you want to talk about me, and I love her dearly. She's wonderful. I fully understand her decision to move on from me because I've been with me for 53 years, and if I could get away from you now, I would. And that poor woman put up with me. Not that I'm a lovely man, not all that, any of that bad, human stuff. I'm kind of got a dark cloud around me, and I wear the my heart on my sleeve and the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I've always been. I don't know. I don't want to be any different than that. I don't want to be. I guess, I go back to name my son Holden, and it is a little hokey, but the truth is, like, if I have a few mantras, like not being phony is huge. Like being your authentic self is paramount to me. And I'm in a world surrounded by people who put on faces and you code switch, and I understand that's necessary. But this idea where you get up and you put on a suit and you put on your little tie and you go and you're like, "Hey, businessman, here's my business and here's my business card. Let's do business." It's always struck me as absurd since I was a kid. Just a bunch of little kids playing grown up, doing like it's just fucking goofy. I don't know. So my long-term goals, short-term goals to make some money at this. My long-term goals is to make more money at it. But really, my long-term goals is to get back to my routine, get a house again, get to be able to do some writing, get to play occasional golf. It's been a rough year, man. Getting divorced, I don't recommend it for anybody. That's not true. There's a Louis C.K. joke. It's like everyone should get divorced. Everyone should get divorced. I'm not saying don't get married. I'm just saying get married so you enjoy the divorce. And the divorce, the dark cloud's finally lifting. Again, this is not to disparage my lovely wife, soon to be ex. It's just the process. It's the process of life. It's what we do. And when you're going through something like this, you kind of have to let the process play out. I've always numbed feelings, with drugs and alcohol, and then when you stop doing that stuff, you have to deal with the emotion. You have to let process them. You have to feel them. And I think it'd be weird if anybody was going through a divorce, from somebody they deeply care about and love, especially when you have kids and a house and a family, and not feel sad. It'd be weird if I didn't feel sad. But yeah, you live in a world. It's like, pick yourself up by the bootstraps or go fly a kite, or it's nice outside. I don't know, man.
Yes, yes, people, we need millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. So, Mr. Joe, can you please invite us
Okay.
to your book?
Where they can find my book? JoeClifford.com. Yes. Okay. JoeClifford.com. One-stop shopping for all your Joe Clifford needs. You can find me pretty easy.
Yes, and because of that, Mr. Joe Clifford, support him more books to come and millions of dollars to come. So, Mr. Thank you for your time.
All right.
What's up, people? See you soon.